Hey there everybody, my name is Courtney and I am the owner of Monarch Media Designs and I'm located in Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm so excited to be able to take a look at your guys' car wrap designs this week. Had my whole team take a look, and so I'm going to take you on a little bitty tour of Monarch for a couple minutes and I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. My name is Courtney, like I said, and I started doing graphic design back in 2000. And then I was able to land a job at a sign company in 2001, and I was just a little sign shop girl, sticker girl, graphic designer. And now, as you can see, this many years later, I own my own company. I've been doing this for years. I love what I do. So if you guys want to learn more about me, please check out our website, monarchworld.com. You can go to the About page and you can learn kind of all about my story and how I got started and everything. So we're going to take a little tour and we're going to head on into the office here so you guys can just take a look at Monarch. Here we go. So here is the front of our building. We've got some signs and graphics up here. We've got our Monarch wrapped vehicle as well out here, so you guys can see. Obviously we have a car wrap. That is our greatest advertisement, to have our own car. So this is completely wrapped with our Monarch style graphics. I love rainbow colors and splatters, so that's where that comes from. And then we're gonna walk into the building here. Say hi to Brittany. She is the front desk manager. Hi, Brittany. Hi. So we've got a little bit of everything wrapped here. We got walls wrapped and cars. You can see we've got our front desk wrapped, and we're going to take a look here. We're going to walk into our printing room, where you can see we have 3 digital printers that kind of each do a little bit different stuff. We've got some stickers printing here. We run banners over on this machine, and then this is our big machine where we run the vehicle wraps from, because it has a lot more high quality. These other machines, they run off of only 4 color ink cartridges. You can see yellow, magenta, cyan, and black. But our larger machine is able to hit a lot better colors because it works off of the same 4, but then we also add light magenta, light black, light cyan, and those all help to hit those skin tone colors and stuff. So we're just gonna quick browse through here. We've got tons of different materials. There's so many different materials in the print world. And then we come into our production room here, where we bring the graphics in and we put them through our laminating machine, and then they go to production. So you can see we got a lot of scraps and stuff that we go through from a lot of different jobs that we have done. We've got a little bit of everything going on around here. And next we're going to step into the garage. All right, heading into our bay here. We've got a nice big bay where we do all of our installations in. We just finished up an install, so we don't have a vehicle in here as of right now. As you can see, we love to stick tons of random stickers that are left over from jobs. Been doing this almost 20 years, so I have a lot of randomness all over our walls, but we'd love to just make it fun, and so it's not such a boring environment in here. So that is our garage. All right, so now that we took a little quick tour of the building, I'm going to give you guys a couple little tips about, we're going to shut the door, we got some customers up front. I'm going to give you guys a couple little quick tips about, before you even start your design, what are some of the top things to make sure that you do, like what makes or breaks some wrap jobs. And sometimes we get designs from designers and stuff that have to be redone and have to be fixed before we can print it for the client. So one thing I can tell you guys super quick, the ultimate most important #1 thing that you can ever do when you're doing anything in graphic design, whether because we don't just do vehicles here, we do signs, business cards, banners, brochures, vehicles, everything. So we deal with a lot of different file types. One thing that is a big problem that we run into a lot of times is that the designers do not call us to ask us what kind of files do we need, what size do we need, how do we need the files set up. Oftentimes we'll just kind of get some files thrown at us that are the wrong size, and the images aren't large enough, and they're pixelated, and the customer is just not going to be happy. And we will not just go ahead and do a job. We always take a look at the files. We always take a look and see what's going on so that we can let the designers know if any changes need to be made. Number two, most important thing ever is to, I mean, I get it that there's a lot of templates, and if somebody says I need to have a box truck, that you just go Google search box truck, but you absolutely cannot do that in the real world. The real world has lots of different sizes, lots of different shapes, lots of different types of box trucks besides just one. They have frames, they have doors, they've got hinges, they have all kinds of things that need to be taken into consideration when you're doing a wrap, because you don't want to send us something and then the truck comes in and it doesn't look anything like your proof, it doesn't look like your layout, etc. So you have to be really careful with that. If you want to do a little bit of extra research, go to our website, monarchworld.com. You can search by vehicle type and go check out some of these box trucks and see how many different shapes and sizes and styles of box trucks that we have done. They are rarely ever the same. So each and every vehicle is different. You might do one for somebody, but the next person's truck might be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, a little bit different shape and size. So that's super, super duper important that you know exactly what this is going on and that you see pictures of the vehicles so that you're not putting items over bubbly areas and things. And I know that's a lot of kind of what you guys are probably learning in this section. So I just as for doing this for a long time, we've kind of run into everything. We also on our website, we have like a tips and a FAQ page that also have different questions like what's important to have on a wrap, why is material important, things like that that you can learn about a little bit more about vehicle wraps by checking out my blog and stuff on the website. So thank you guys for tuning in. Please, after these critiques, please feel free. You guys can always reach out to me. I know that I'm up in the Midwest, but I am reachable. Check out the website. You can send an email through the website. You can email me directly as the owner, Courtney. My email address is Courtney, COURTNEY, at monarchmadison.com, and you can find me at monarchworld.com. I'm more than happy to answer any of your guys' questions, and after you see the critiques too, feel free, if you have any more questions about your designs and stuff, you can definitely reach out to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you again. I'm totally honored for you guys reaching out to me and allowing me to take a look at this, and I'm super excited. So hope you guys like the critiques, and I'll talk to you soon, and have a wonderful holiday. All right, so for these critiques, we used a grading system of 1 through 5 for a handful of different items. We've got concept, which is going to be like the thought process, kind of what goes into it, how much time we maybe felt that you spent coming up with the actual concept for a vehicle, besides just throwing some logos and stuff like that on there. We went by placement. So placement is a big thing with these box trucks. Placement may not be that much of an issue when it comes to the box portion of the truck. We did have one person that did a truck using an actual pickup truck, so placement is going to be a lot more important on that, as well as like on the cab of the box truck and stuff too. But where you placed things are going to make a difference too with the overall wrap. So we graded on information, meaning did you have all the necessary information in there necessary for your client? Website, phone number, locations, logo is a big one, and also like what do you do, that sort of thing. We primarily are dealing with business owners. Local business owners is a lot of what we do, and so like the who, what, where, and how is going to be very important on these vehicles. Who are you? What do you do? Potentially where are your locations and where do I go to get to your store? But that's not for everybody. And then also, how do I reach you? You know, do I find you on Facebook? Do I find you on the web? Do I find you on a phone number with your phone number? How do you want those customers to be reached? So that stuff is going to be very, very important to make sure you have all that information. We've also got whether or not it would be print ready. So if you were a design company and you sent this layout over to us and said, hey, this is what my client wants, with a first glance, is this going to be pretty much print ready to us, where we don't need any special stuff set up, and we can take your file and set it up and be able to print it. So that's what print ready is going to be for. Also, if there's some stuff that we feel needed to be changed in the design, it would be considered not print ready, because there would be some things that needed to be changed. Also, ease of installation. So box trucks are going to be a lot easier on the sides because you got the nice flat rectangles, but the cab of the box truck, as well as the one person that did the pickup truck, installation, ease of installation is going to make a huge difference too. That if it's a really more difficult design, the installation is going to be a little bit harder, which isn't always a bad thing, because sometimes a really cool concept might have a harder installation because of the concept and how it needs to lay out on the vehicle, that it's going to take a little bit longer to install. So the length of install does not always mean a bad thing, but sometimes there's things that you can change in a design that would ease up on the install a little bit if it's kind of like an unnecessary thing that would take a little bit too long, where you could do something different. So we're going to go over all that with everybody. And then the last thing that we graded was just the overall design, 1 to 5, 5 being like the best for all, and just what we thought of the overall design and everything as a whole. So so that's how we graded. And then so the highest score you could get, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 would be 35. So 35 is like basically the highest score. Then I took my production manager, my design manager, and myself, and we looked at all the designs and we graded them from like our top 3. So anybody that got chosen for like somebody's first place got an extra 3 points. If you were chosen as somebody's second choice, you got 2 extra points. And if you were chosen as somebody's third choice, then you would get 1 point. So these are kind of based on, like, if these were like 10 designs that we got in and we had to hire 3 of them off of just their design, that's kind of how we graded them. So like these are like being our top favorite designs. So just a little breakdown so you guys kind of know how we did the scoring system. Overall, we really did like a lot of the designs. Really cool that people are learning this in school and stuff now. That's really neat. I didn't get thrown into vehicle graphics until a couple years after I was already out of design school, and I had never really even considered doing like vehicle wraps as a job. So with that, let's get on to the critiques, and I'll talk to you guys in a little bit. All right, so the first one we're taking a look at here, they're not in any particular order because we kind of printed them and put them out of order, but the first one we're going to be talking about here is the Home Depot wrap. Okay, so the first thing that I'm noticing about this one is that this one is pretty close to real life. So, I mean, a lot of times these are big corporate companies and they're gonna want the more plain designs where it doesn't need to be fades and glows and all kind of stuff. If you guys take a look at like Home Depot vehicles, you'll see that a lot of them are pretty like plain with the orange and the white. So overall, the concept for the Home Depot for us graded pretty high because it is a pretty standard concept. This is probably pretty darn close to what Home Depot would normally do. One thing to focus on, okay, is this a national Home Depot? Is this a local Home Depot? Does there need to be a website on there somewhere, or is it just kind of given that they are Home Depot and that you go to homedepot.com? But to me, I feel like there should be some sort of contact information on there, like a website or something. Or if this is a local Home Depot, like in your hometown, is there locations, east side, west side, that sort of a thing. So those are some things that just to keep in mind, but to ask your customer, like if this is just a national Home Depot truck that goes all over the place, maybe it doesn't need specific contact information or locations because it's not location specific. So just a couple things to think about there, but overall, I mean, pretty nice. What do we have? This one would be, if this is what the customer approved, this would be pretty much print ready. We wouldn't have to do much with it. Installation wise, it's going to be pretty easy. We did score, which was pretty much almost everybody with the box trucks besides one person. We did score a little bit lower on difficulty for this one, just because it is a more simple design. There's not a lot going on in the cab over here that may have added a little bit more difficulty. so just difficulty of the design in general got scored a little bit low, but overall design was pretty good. This is a pretty much real life job where I could see something like this rolling off the Monarch floor. So there's the Home Depot one right here. Overall, we scored, Home Depot got a score of 30. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me, monarchworld.com. All right, the next vehicle is going to be this SeaWorld design. So overall, concept-wise, this one graded really high. Super cool idea. Okay, I really like how you can see the whale, and it's got the whale like eyes and stuff on the cab. That is a more, you know, that does take a little bit more thought conceptually to kind of come up with something like this. So a couple things that may have docked a couple of points off of this one is, okay, so taking a look at this super awesome concept, but how are we implementing this? As a vehicle wrap company, we do not put fins onto vehicles, so this would somehow have to be something that's put together with the client to actually like put that into fruition. So super cool idea, yes. Is it possible? Potentially. Does the customer want to pay extra to get a fin put on top of their truck? Probably not, but maybe if it's SeaWorld, maybe they have some extra money that they you know, want to do something pretty like cool like this, and if so, then that's pretty cool. So we did like the concept. It has, oops, sorry, it has all of the information necessary. I really like the bullet points. The logo is nice and really easy to read. One thing that we did notice that scored a little bit low in regards to a file being print ready, that if we just straight took this file and didn't make any changes and printed it, that we did notice that there's a little tiny phone number that's forgot to get taken out of there. Happens to the best of us, believe it or not. Like, even us like top people have done stuff like that before, but that would require a reprint. So it's one thing for us because we work here, so if we mess something up, we can reprint it. But you as a designer, if you sent this design over to somebody and then they printed it and then they put it on the car, then you could end up with some problems there, because you would probably have to pay to reprint over this little chunk right here. Now, hopefully you work with a company that, like, if we were to get this, we take a look at everything, we would have noticed it first and helped you get it out of your file, but that does cause a lot of extra time. So that did end up scoring this one just a little bit lower on the print ready portion of it because of the little thing. I know you're thinking like, oh, I can't believe I didn't see that. But like I said, it happens to everybody. So just attention to detail is really important, especially if you are not like the printer and the installer and you're just the designer. You got to pay attention to some of that stuff so that you don't get yourself in a little pickle with your customer when you got to reprint something. So overall, the SeaWorld design got a 28 for points, so still pretty good. Like I said, everybody did a really great job. Don't take this as A, B, C, D, E, but I really want you guys to get some good feedback on your design. So super cool. I do give this one an extra yay for a really cool concept of how to kind of transfer over from the box truck to the front here. So cool idea. And that's it. And please also reach out to me, monarchworld.com, if you have any questions. Okay, next design that we have here is the NASA design. Some cool stuff about this. I do like the little space guy on the back. That's pretty cool. The information wise, it's pretty cool. At first glance, you kind of have to look at it a little bit for the logo to kind of pop out on the sides, but I do like the overall design here is pretty cool. One thing like that just kind of looks off to me, just as a tiny little critique, is how this wording is shifted way up, and to me it kind of feels like it should be kind of like centered with this NASA, like shifted down and then centered with this as well, so that you kind of read the text down, because really you want it to be able to pop with who this client is too. So I would definitely bring this down a little bit and kind of keep it centered, and then you can still have that NASA over here, but it just kind of seems like it's kind of floating up in the air for me there. But overall, concept was pretty good. Placement is pretty decent. The information is there. We've got the website, who you are, and a little thing. There doesn't really need to be bullet points for NASA, I don't think, for what they do. And there could have been a little bit more, you know, difficulty on the box, you know, a little bit more of something going from the box besides just kind of the simple stars, but it still looks cool. Just saying, you know, difficulty wise, this one scored a little bit lower too. Again, the box trucks are going to be scoring a little bit lower unless you kind of really did something more on the cab, which is the more difficult area to wrap. But overall, the NASA design scored a 27. What else was I noticing? Oh, one other thing. If you take a look at the picture here, you can see how it's orange towards the front of the vehicle, and it's orange right here. But when you look at the front, this is actually blue. And so if you remember that when you're looking at it from like a forward angle, that this and the front are going to line up. So I would have actually like swapped this picture. And I see how the back is, how it does line up with the back. I would have either swapped it, or I would do something on the front that kind of brings this in, so that it's not just a hard solid line going from orange to blue. So, and potentially maybe a little logo on the door or something like that. So, but overall, a great design. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me, monarchworld.com. All right, next up is the Gaia Herbs design. Pretty cool. This is definitely something that we would be seeing in real life. You know, sometimes it's not all the crazy designs. It's like the simple, what do you do, sort of designs. So a couple things that popped out. Concept is good. Placement is pretty good. You've got all the information necessary, like who are you, what do you do, what are some bullet points. I think you could and should add a website onto the back of the vehicle, because the back of the truck is actually what more people are going to see at stoplights and that sort of thing. So I would definitely throw that information on the back of the truck. I don't know that it's completely necessary to have 2 logos on the back. It might be a little much to have the 2 logos, maybe as a critique. But simple is better sometimes, like places like this. This is something that we would probably see rolling out a Monarch as well. Another thing that kind of pointed out to me, just in regards to like when you're designing everything and really just feeling out like what the company does and what they're for. So like maybe that's part of their whole thing. But like to me, like Gaia is like Earth, and like the only thing that kind of pops out is that the pointiness here doesn't really seem to like fit with the whole Gaia and Earth. It's like really pointy and sharp. So like to me, that's one thing that was kind of like, ooh, a little bit too pointy, where maybe these could be like little some sort of curves. I mean, maybe that's their thing. I didn't look it up, so maybe they do the pointy thing. That's just like my personal opinion. Nothing necessarily wrong with that. I'm trying to get my camera up here. Nothing necessarily wrong with that, like at all. So that was just kind of something that I noticed. But overall, this one scored pretty high. Placement information, it's pretty much print ready, besides if there were some little minor changes that you wanted to make. Installation wise, this is going to be pretty easy, especially there's not a lot going on in the cab here. This one scored a little bit lower on difficulty because, again, it is a box truck. I'm not sure. I think you guys maybe could pick out of a couple of vehicles or something. I'm not sure. So difficulty was a little bit lower because there's some really hard vehicles to design. Box trucks usually aren't too bad, besides like when you bring in the cab. Overall design is pretty good. We did like this one, and this one ended up with a total score of 29. So if you have any questions about this one, please reach out to me at monarchworld.com. All right, here we go. We've got this one, which is actually the one person that did a pickup truck instead of a box truck. So everybody here wants to give big special kudos to the one person that decided to do a more difficult vehicle. Box trucks, like I said, if you're just doing the box, pretty darn easy. Once you add the cab, it might be a little bit more difficult. But when you get into vehicles like this is where the real thought process comes from. So like what we really love is that this person like kind of went over and above. Like we've got the hood, we've got the roof, we've got the tailgate, the back window, the front windshield. I mean, kind of like everything is covered on this vehicle, which I think is pretty cool. Couple things. So this one scored pretty good. Concept was great. Placement. So this is just where, okay, so when we get to these really difficult vehicles, this is where we're talking about like how important placement is and how important it is to actually physically see the vehicle. Because on here, you know, even over these wheel wells, sure, it looks like a nice line and everything is nice and flat. But when you actually take a look at these vehicles, these wheel wells bulge out sometimes 3 to 4 inches, where if you actually have something right over that bulge, it's going to bulge out and it's going to look all weird. So like, we get it that we do too want stuff to be a lot bigger there, but due to the amount of space that's actually here on the truck, you would actually have to shrink that down and shift it up just a little bit, because you don't want that looking weird over your wheel wells. The same as like right here where this M crosses over from the cab of the truck to the tailgate of the, or to the box of the truck, and this is actually a big huge gap right here, so you're gonna end up with like a big huge gap, maybe like a ½ inch out of your M, whereas if you just shift it just a little bit, like right in between there, then it's not gonna go over this body line on the door, and it's also not gonna get in this crazy area. If you actually look up a pickup truck and you see there's all kinds of bulgy areas and doors right here that would have this .com just looking crazy right here. So as well as like getting it really close right here, you could definitely take this making it's backwards, making your idea a reality, and you could take that and kind of just squeeze it down just a little bit so that it maybe is just fitting a little bit smaller under there, so it's not going to be going over these bulgy areas on the bottom. It's not going to be going over the bulgy areas around the tire. But all in all, we do really like this design. The idea, and we just give them props for using this vehicle. The roof as well. Now see these little tiny rectangles? So on your design, these are going to be just flat, boring rectangles. Like, what in the heck are those? But if you actually take a look at a truck, these are big bump. So these are huge bumps that if you actually try to put this lettering over it, it's going to look crazy. So like the top part, awesome. I would totally ditch this lettering right here because it's going over a bumpy area. Windshield stuff, that's pretty cool. You threw that in. One of the only people that, they're the only person that did that. So overall, we really we like this one, and we definitely give props for this to this person. So this one was chosen by one person as their second choice and one person as their third choice, and so this one ended up with a score of 29, but then scored an extra 3 points for being chosen as a couple people's top 3. So as a total, this one received 32 points from us. So if you have any more questions, hit me up, monarchworld.com. All right, here we go. We are on to the next design. This is the Katie's, let's see, Katie's Catering and Events. So you guys take a look at this. It seems kind of plain with it being all black, but this one was probably one of the most likely to roll out of our shop vehicles. So even though it does seem a little more like a plain Jane design, this is like 90% of what we do in the real world are these plain Jane type of designs. Super duper high. This one scored for concept because it highlights everything for the business. Placement, everything is looking really good, even on here, making sure that the stuff is above and below these like door things here, and just with the placement of everything. let's see, we've got information wise, everything is on here. Like, who are you right here? What do you do? So we've got all the bullet points, and they're kind of listed over these pictures that really show what the company does, as well as we've got the website and phone number prominently displayed in white on the doors so that really pops out. So this vehicle is answering all the questions. The who, what, where, and how do I get a hold of you is all in this layout. So this one actually scored super high, even though the difficulty of it got a low score because it's a box truck. Again, there's not a lot of difficulty that goes in. It's more of a black, you know, with the black design and everything. But for this one, actually the only area that was scored low was the difficulty, but everything else scored super high on this one. Even though it is like probably one of the, like, it's more plain and it doesn't have so much like wow factor. But this is something that a customer would like literally be looking for and wanting to do. I love how the back and with the social media, find us on Facebook and that sort of stuff. Everything here, this would be print ready. We could take this, print it, be ready to go, and wouldn't even have to call the designer or anything. So this one scored in the end, it scored a 32 on our point system, but it also was one person's first choice and two people's second choice for the top vehicles, so that gained an extra 7 points. So total, this vehicle right here got a 39 for points. So if you have any more questions about your design, please reach out, monarchworld.com. All right, next design, we've got this NR design. It took us a second. We actually had to kind of look it up to exactly have an idea of what this was. Did they sell cars or what do they do? So we did determine that it was like a racing circuit, I believe. And because it's international or something, so it has like the different website address and stuff. So for this one, concept wise, awesome. Placement wise, everything is placed pretty decent. Only thing that I did notice is that in going from this design right here over to the front, how do you just want it cut right off? Or, you know, you could potentially have the checkers kind of fading, or maybe you have like just white on the side going into checkers, something like that. So that was the only thing that I kind of noticed, is that the transition from these, but it could still just potentially just be just the checkerboard right there too, and just kind of be like a solid cutoff point. And actually some box trucks have kind of like a metal border around them that would kind of separate that a little bit anyways. So overall, this one scored pretty good. Information wise, we scored it a little low, just because we kind of had to look up because we weren't exactly sure. Having it in a different language made a difference too. So if we could read that, then we would have known what it was right away. So we didn't take off too much for that. This one was actually chosen as two people's third choice. So we got a couple extra points. So overall, this one received a 29 points, and then 2 extra points for third place. We did really like just the overall concept. Looks really cool. The fade and everything is really good, like going from the hood to the front. So I like the little honeycomb things here, and it kind of transfers over to the front really good. So that was really good. And just overall really nice. Difficulty is going to be a little bit lower too, because we're doing the box truck. And but I do like the little bit of added, instead of just red to black faded, how it does have kind of like that honeycomb look to it, so it's just a little bit different. So yeah, if you have any more questions about this one, please hit me up, monarchworld.com. All right, so here we've got the next one. This is going to be the Heaven's Sweet Paradise box truck design. So overall, concept-wise, like the design in the clouds and the rainbows and the cookies and everything. Placement, you know, is pretty decent. Nothing's going over anything. Difficulty, again, this one is going to be a little bit lower because it's the box trucks, again, that are going to be a little bit easier to design. Couple things. This one is going to score a little bit lower on information wise. Couple things that I noticed right away: no logo on the other side. So like if somebody, there's a lot of views of the vehicle, but if somebody only sees this side, they will have no idea who you are, what to do, how to get a hold of you, nothing. They might think the cookies are delicious or ice cream. They might go to the store and buy some ice cream and cookies, but are they going to buy them from your customer? Probably not, because they have no idea who you are, what you do, where's your website, where's your phone, where's your locations. This one is pretty much missing like all of the pertinent information besides the one logo on the side, and it's, you know, Heaven's Sweet Paradise. What? You know, Heaven's Sweet Paradise Cookies and Ice Cream, Heaven's Sweet Paradise Cookie Delivery Service. You know, what is this truck? Especially the back. When it comes to vehicle designs, the back can often be like one of the most important. Like if you are on a low budget and you can only put graphics on one side of your vehicle, I'm going to tell you, put it on the back, because that is where people are going to be stopping behind you and they actually have time to read this stuff. So super important to have stuff on the back. You absolutely, if a customer is spending lots of money to wrap this back, it better have everything, logo, name, everything, more information on the back than you can even find on the sides. Overall, like how the box transitions to the front, great. How in the hood and everything, all that is looking pretty decent going around. But now when you look here from the side to the back, you know, how is this going to transition over? Or do you just want a solid line when someone's looking at your vehicle from the corner? It's just going to be, you know, a solid cutoff between the two sides. Or do you actually want these backs to somehow, or the back of the sides to fade into the back? So that's something you always want to think about, is all views of the car, not just side, front, back, but what about looking at it at a corner angle where you're looking at the back and the side and how these are coming together and how they're actually going to come into fruition. So this one scored okay on installation, overall design and placement, but did score a little bit lower just on the concept, because what is the concept? You know, what does this company do? Scored a little bit lower on information because there just was not any information on here, and difficulty scored a little lower because of, again, the box truck design over like a different vehicle that might have been a little bit harder. So overall, I do love the cookies and the ice cream, and I like the whole entire design, besides that it's just missing some really important elements. So this one scored a little bit lower. This one scored a 22 on our scale. But it doesn't mean it was really bad. It just, everybody's learning, so it's always important to have all these things. And we also have an article on our website, monarchworld.com, that talks about like the top 5 things that you want to have included in your vehicle wrap. And so that might be a helpful little article to take a look at. So overall, great design. And if you have any questions about it, please hit me up on monarchworld.com. All right, our next design here is going to be the Barnes & Noble design. Overall, pretty decent for concept. We've got placement, you know, everything is fine. There's nothing in like weird places or anything like that. I do feel like there maybe could be a little bit more on the back, because it's just kind of like the planets and the logo, and the website is like bn.com. Like I actually barely even saw, and I didn't think there was a website on here at first. I had to like look like super close. But one of the most important things outside of who are you is how do I find you? How do I get in touch with you? So for this one, I would definitely say that this website needs to be way more prominent somewhere on the vehicle, and as well as even the Barnes & Noble is just so tiny that it definitely needs to be on the big part of the box truck. You don't want to have this huge gigantic box truck that somebody might spend thousands of dollars wrapping and then their logo is like Barnes & Noble. You know, there should be a big Barnes & Noble up here somewhere on the box, and then having something on the cab is kind of just like a cherry on top of the sundae. But more people are going to want their logos here as opposed to just a little logo or something there. And then, so information wise, could go a little bit bigger, as well as kind of like when you guys are putting taglines on your vehicles too, think about like how you're gonna say it, and that's how you want to write it. So to me, this says, discover new worlds, read. Is it one sentence, or is it all together? You know, like, what is this supposed to say? When in reality, like, how would you really say that, right? You'd be like, discover new worlds, read. You know, read is kind of like its own thing, you know. So maybe some sort of a font, because these two are just blending way too much. So it's like discover new worlds, read. I mean, there's nothing like, you know, like popping out to me, instead of like a different font that's like discover new worlds, ... and then a big like read with a big Barnes and Noble logo. So that's going to be really important, is letting new people know, like, what are you trying to get at with this design? And what is this supposed to mean? Discover new worlds, read. I would definitely do something a little fancier with that, to make it pop, you know, make it pop and make it readable, and so that people can read it kind of with the intention that it's supposed to sound, too. So that, if that could be my little critique there. But overall, logo on the hood is fine. All this stuff is fine. The going from the cab to the front should be pretty decent. We've got difficulty. This one also scored a little bit lower on difficulty, being a box truck and with not a lot of extra stuff. So it's just kind of the background of with the blue and everything. But otherwise, this one scored pretty decent. This one got a score of 26 out of 35, and got full for placement and installation. Ease of installation were both 5s on this one, and then a couple 3s and 4s kind of in there. But overall, good design, and you know, just a couple critiques, and it would pretty much be print ready. But I would still, if I received this design, I would probably hit up the designer and say, hey, you know, let's change up a few things before we were definitely ready to send this to print. So again, this one got a 26, but great job. And please, if you have any questions, please hit me up on monarchworld.com. All right, so this design here, this GameStop design, this one was one of the favorites of a couple people. So this one actually scored first place for a couple people here of just like overall design. Concept awesome, placement pretty good. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Information is pretty decent. I mean, people have heard of GameStop. This is another one of those that's like, is this a local GameStop truck, or is this a national GameStop truck? If this is a local truck, you absolutely need to have some locations on here, like east side, west side, you know, or where they're located or something. If this is like only driving around in 1 or 2 towns or areas, having the locations on here is going to be really big. But a couple things that we totally like loved too. I love using all the characters. Love the little characters here, and we like how this pipe is like in front, but that did knock a couple points off placement wise, because that is a very difficult area of the vehicle, as well as most box trucks bumpers are actually not wrappable, so you would actually not be able to wrap this bottom portion of it. But I'm giving you like total awesome props, because this one, I can definitely say that whoever worked on this one went totally like outside of the box, and you probably went and looked at some other wraps and stuff too to kind of get an idea of some cool things. So I really love the funness of this one. I love the little turtle shells over the wheel. If you really wanted to do this like kind of 3D looking around the corner things with these, I would actually put them back here so that they actually wrap around the back side of the truck where it's a little more straight, so it's going to be easier to install. Doing it on the bumper, it looks great on paper, but really it's so bumpy and curvy over here that to put this on, it might actually look kind of weird, and it's not going to have the look that you really want it to have. So we would have you place that in like a different area, but the concept of it is awesome. You could definitely put like half of it right here and half of it on the back, and then when you're looking at it at that angle of from the back, of seeing the side and the back, then it's going to kind of look like a little 3D tube there. So one thing to definitely keep in mind is that all of these graphics and stuff are going to be trademarked by Nintendo and things. So you would have to get permission through GameStop. You would have to have permission from them to use these graphics. You absolutely cannot just take graphics off the web and use them in somebody's design. You could get sued. There could be a lot of problems that arise due to that. So in an ideal world, you have talked to GameStop, and GameStop said, yes, they said we can use whatever graphics we want, and here you go, and you can use these graphics. I mean, like all these logos, you need to have permission to use those logos and all these little images. But overall, we totally loved this design. It was super fun and definitely outside of the box. So it scored a lot higher with a bunch of stuff. Oh, and one other thing that we noticed too, you definitely do not need the HTTPS www. You could simply go with GameStop.com. You could make the website a little bit bigger and take that whole part off. So that was just one little thing. But in regards to this vehicle being like pretty much print ready, has most of the information, installation wise, this one would be a little bit more difficult because of some of these things. Placement and making sure that they land right where you want them to land is going to make the installation a little bit harder. But like I said, this one turned out being first place for a couple different people, so it got 6 extra points. So this one ended up scoring a 36 out of, well, the 35. So adding the top points on it actually helped get you over the 35 with those people voting for this one for first for the designs. So 3 different people voted. We had a couple different firsts and seconds and thirds kind of mixed around, but overall super awesome design and great job. Just make sure to get your copyright stuff. So if you have any questions about this one, please hit me up, monarchworld.com. So that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for checking out Monarch and for learning a little bit more about my company. I absolutely love what I do. Car wraps is my thing, and I would love to answer any of the questions you guys have. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me and send me an email or check out my website. Find our page on Facebook. We're under Monarch Media Designs, and check out our awesome gallery and all the super duper cool stuff that we're doing. Most of our up-to-date pictures are going to be found on our Facebook page, and then we update when we can on our website. So I really hope this helped you guys. An awesome job working on these car wraps. It's not an easy thing to do, I can tell you that much, but we totally love our job and it's super fun. So hope you guys had a great school year and have an awesome holiday, and we'll talk to you soon.